Yo, the first thing I want to do today is thank you. Everybody who shared their results and their feedback from last week's 5-day fasting challenge. It was amazing. And what we're going to do today is talk about how we can take that 5 days where we may have dropped some body weight, maybe gave ourselves an opportunity to build some mental and spiritual strength, fortitude, steadfastness, and roll it into a lifestyle where we're continually improving our physiology, our biology, our bodies, our body composition, and continuing to develop the stoic, strong, focused, masculine character associated with time-restricted eating, the austerities, and the asceticism associated with fasting, particularly as I promote it. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go around this clock real quick, and I'm going to talk about some of the ideas that will support you in your rational fasting lifestyle. And part of the reason why I call it the rational fasting lifestyle is because we want to take the same type of approach that we take to our training. Right? If you're here and you're into training, and the same way that you take an approach to your macro counting and dieting. You know, we're all very specific and very tedious about how we do those things, but we think in terms of fasting because it's just it's an absence, it's a non-doing. Fasting is really a non-doing, that it's easy to sort of just gloss over and think that, well, I'm fasting and there it is, that's all that needs to be done, and that's all I need to know in order to get the best results out of my fasting. But that is not true, because fasting can go wrong. So today, we're just gonna go through some of the different concepts, ideas, tips, tricks, tactics, and things that you can use and integrate into your life so that you can be a rational fasting badass. So beginning at the top of the clock, what I'd like to bring your attention to is this idea, or this term really, of time-restricted eating. And so many of you are familiar with intermittent fasting, and that's where we alternate between fasting and feasting. In fact, that's really the most natural way for man to live. The way we live these days is, in a myriad of different ways, completely unnatural. And it is not natural for man to have access to food 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and never go through this seesaw, never go through this balance of fasting and feasting. It's constantly fucking feasting. If you pay attention, I was talking to a friend the other day, and we're talking about how when we are traveling and we're on vacation, a big part of the entertainment revolves around fasting. And it's funny because, you know, you wake around feasting, sorry. It's like a continuous 24-hour feast. And I don't know if you're anything like me, or if you ever had this experience. I remember the first time I had this experience, it was with a family I was traveling with when I was maybe about 10 or 12 years old. And we would finish eating breakfast, and conversations about lunch were already on their tongues. Well, all right, that was great breakfast. What are you thinking about for lunch? Where do you want to go for lunch? After lunch, same thing. Oh, that was great. Filling my belly, feel real good. That was an amazing lunch. What do you think you want to do for dinner? What are we going to do for dinner? So there's this constant state of focusing on eating, digesting, eliminating, and then repeating. And a lot of times, this is the way we live our lifestyle. It's a constant feast. And we know that leads to a myriad of different chronic diseases, including type 2 diabetes, obesity. Basically, every chronic disease that we suffer from in the industrialized world is a byproduct of overconsumption, constant freaking consumption. There is no balance between the fasting and the feasting. And of course, this is about food, but we overconsume in a myriad of different ways in our culture. So the idea of time-restricted eating or eating windows, intermittent fasting, is still, in my opinion, a bit flawed in that we're always then thinking about when we're going to eat. right? As opposed to thinking about when we're going to fast. What I'm going to offer you here, especially as we move forward, is a thing in terms of fasting as the lifestyle, not feasting as a lifestyle. So we want to sort of flip it a little bit. It's not a matter of when are we going to eat, what are we going to eat, how we're going to eat, always thinking about eating. It's about fasting. When are we going to be fasting? How long are we going to be fasting? And then strategically having targeted nutrition intake. Now that's the next step. So moving from time restricted eating windows, right? Keeping them tight eating windows, being very specific about when you're going to start eating and when you're going to stop eating, either be it within a 24-hour period or over the course of days. But then when we do eat, we want to eat in a very targeted way. Meaning if we are, like I assume most of us are into lifting, into training, athletes, sports, bodybuilding, powerlifting, strongman, boom, being a badass. I mean, why else would you be here? Then we want to think in terms of eating, having our eating windows targeted specifically around our workouts. So we got to think in terms of pre, peri, and post workouts. And the reason why is because we want to use fuel, we want to use our food as a means to power our workouts and to recover from our workouts. So if we think in terms of our feasting windows as a strategic tool to support our workouts, then we won't be thinking about eating all day long. It won't be a matter of being constantly bombarded with thoughts of consumption. So just put your workout as the centerpiece in your daily schedule, really. Think about when you're going to be training, and then you work backwards from there. And I'll talk a little bit more about, long-term vision, but just on a daily, in the micro, in terms of workouts, we want to think about how we can fuel our workout with maybe some nutrition ahead of time. And these are all sort of flexible. So some people prefer to fuel their bodies, get all the macronutrients and micronutrients in their blood, in their muscle, before your workout. And I think that's a great idea because it's going to support you in the intensity that you want to produce when you start pumping iron, baby, right? So pre makes a lot of sense, but also peri makes a lot of sense. And peri-workout meals is during your workout. And so we've got two different schools of thoughts from two of my favorite fasting experts. Cole Robinson has been talking lately about pre-workout, like eating a big meal in the morning, that way you can train in the afternoon, which I think is a great idea. I don't personally subscribe to that at this moment. Doesn't mean that I won't, but I do think it's a great idea. It sounds like a great idea. And I know for a fact that when I'm full with nutrition, my workout's going to be that much more intense. But then Sim Land talks about using things like targeted ketogenic shakes, things of that nature. And he often talks about in his books and in his videos, talks about having a protein shake during your workout. During your workout is when you want to start fueling. So you want to go into your workout in a fasted state. This is what he suggests. But then during your workout, like you noticed during my live trainings last week, you would see me taking some amino acids, right? You can use amino acids, fatty acids. Sim also suggests that if you're doing like cyclic ketogenic, that you maybe use some dextrose or a little bit of carbohydrates within your workout, again, to fuel the workout itself. Not to replenish glycogen afterwards, but to give you a boost during your workout, right? That's also very happy. That's also very useful. And then of course, post-workout, which is, I think it's pretty old school. Comes from a long line of thinking that I had and still subscribe to a great deal. And that is, you go into the gym to beat yourself up, but then you recover, you replenish, you bring it all in with your post-workout. So you could totally design a rational fasting lifestyle for training around these three concepts: pre, peri, and post workouts. Like I said, some people would subscribe to the pre, some the peri, and some the post. Right now, personally, so you know what I'm doing, I fast. I fast during the day. I fast overnight. I fast during the early part of the day. My workout's usually about early afternoon. So I have a Perry and I have a shake during my workout to give me some boost. And then I eat in the evening time. And you know, part of the reason why I eat in the evening time, and as opposed to doing it the other way around, is simply because I have a family. And I much rather have my meal with my wife and with my children and to eat later on in the day. Is it most optimal? I don't know. And that's really why it's up to you to experiment with these. So that's one concept to keep in mind. Also, is that we want to move forward past this 5-day fasting challenge, continuing with a minimum fasting lifestyle, right? Minimum fasting lifestyle. These are how to strategically intake nutrition, but we want to think in terms of our overall philosophy with regard to fasting. And these are two very good options, both of which I subscribe to or I'll use interchangeably. Just like with your training and just like with your nutrition, these are all tools for you to use and switch out and replace and be flexible. The whole idea is to always be thinking in terms of lifestyle, fasting lifestyle. Bare minimum for fasting as a lifestyle is either this 18-6, 16-8, which was popularized by Lean Gains. Berkman was the name of the guy? Lean Gains. I remember he used to have a blog, Lean Gains, and he's got some really good information on there. But he was a bodybuilder. And we're talking about like 18-6. And so that there's that tight eating window, right? So you think in terms of like you're fasting 18 hours. It's a fasting lifestyle. You're mostly fasting. You're mostly not eating, but you got that eating window of either 6 to 8 hours. You can manipulate this. This is not written in stone. The whole idea with this 16-8, 18-6, 24, which is another one that I've used and continue to use from time to time, is really all about targeted eating windows. And be tight about it. Be specific about it. Now the other option is OMAD. And so which is 1 meal a day, for those of you who don't know. And my whole point here is to show you that that is the minimum. The minimum is to either have 1 meal a day or to have a tight eating window, right? We want to start thinking in those terms where in the past, and it's not to say right or wrong, I'm not really here to debate that. I'm here to offer an option, open a door, give you an opportunity. When I was in strongman, football, and building myself up as a young man, it was eat every 2 hours. So it was less about, again, like I said, it's less about focusing on the fasting, and it was constantly focused on eating. So to live the rational fasting lifestyle and receive all the benefit thereof, we want to change our paradigm and focus more on when we're not eating, and feasting being sort of strategic. So that's a minimum. That's a minimum viable lifestyle for fasting. And you can absolutely 100% get started here, stay here even, and reap the rewards. It's a wonderful thing about fasting and the flexible rational fasting lifestyle. The other concept that we explored and tool that we used, and something I want to talk a little bit more about here, is the use of Nomads in the rational fasting lifestyle. So Nomad, of course, stands for no meal a day as opposed to 1 meal a day. And it is of my opinion that it is a good idea to carry forward at least once to 3 times a week. Once would be like, for example, Sunday, say Sundays or Saturdays. You choose 1 day a week where you don't eat. You go to bed without eating, right? Go to bed hungry. That would be the minimum if you wanted to use this as a tool and dose it out that way. Also, I say 3 days a week because it is very viable to go about a every other day diet. I think there might even be a book called that, Every Other Day Diet. So basically, On Monday, you're doing 16-8. You're doing a Nomad. You're getting your calories. You're doing what you have to do. But then on Tuesday, you decide not to eat. You don't eat on Tuesday. It would be best if that was if you worked out on Monday, so you ate on the day that you worked out, that you trained. And on Tuesday, let's say, it's more a matter of conditioning or yoga or whatever it is you're doing to recover on that next day. You don't need to eat. You choose not to eat. You can make that a lifestyle option every other day, right? So this is, this rational fasting is about rolling this into a lifestyle. What are you going to do now after the 5-day fasting challenge? And you're already very familiar. Basically, what we did during the latter half of the 5-day fasting challenge was a UMAD. And I call it UMAD because, when I talk about it, people say, "Are you mad? Are you mad? You're not eating for 3 days. You're not eating for 5 days. You're not eating for 10 days. And I think those are the intervals by which we should start approaching the prolonged fasting and turning it into a lifestyle. 3-day, 5-day, 10-day, right? And of course, you can go beyond that. I have not. So I have a tendency to want to restrain myself from offering or suggesting things that I haven't done myself. But you could absolutely go longer than that if you'd like. But the point here is that we want to integrate a couple of these prolonged 3, 5, 10 plus day fast, UMADs, 1 to 4 times a year. I began fasting in 2002 by doing a 19-day sun up to sundown fast once a year. So it was a bit of a longer, prolonged fast. It was also sort of intermittent because we would eat when the sun goes down, but only once a year. And I got to tell you, doing that once a year for about 4 years, first 4 years, I think I did it from like 2002, 3, 4, 5, probably till about 2006, because I started doing strongman in 2007. So for about 4 years, every year, I would do one of these prolonged 19-day fasts. And I would always look forward to it, man. I couldn't wait because I knew that there were going to be not only a myriad of shifts in my physiology and my body and body composition, but also it was always around this time of year, springtime, and things start budding, the world starts sparking, and you and I cleanse out with a nice multi-day UMAD fast. All kinds of inspiration, motivation, downloads of consciousness tended to come to me around that season, and I always look forward to it. What I did this year, and actually I started last year, is doing it more than just that one time a year. Now, I'll continue to do a fast in every March, January, February, March, because it's the third month of the year, and it's the end of the first quarter. And so this year, that's when I did my 10-day fast, was in March. But then April, May, June, we're at the end of June, July, right? June is the last month in the second quarter, and that's why I decided to do the 5-day fasting challenge with you. I was going to do it regardless, but because I've been getting so many questions and there's so much, people want to know about fasting, I decided, well, hey, I'm going to do it, so might as well do it with you guys, and that's why we're here. So 1 to 4 times a year, quarterly. Think about it in terms of quarter. Every 3 months, you want to subject yourself to a cleanse, to a fast. Fasting is cleansing. Fasting is a lot of things. But you want to give yourself that opportunity a few times a year. So even if you just do a weekend, my friend Yaya, that's what he does. I think every quarter he fasts for a weekend. You can go Friday, Saturday, Saturday, Sunday. You can do it for 3 days. You can do it for 5 days. Coming up here so we got September so we got July, August, September. The end of September will be the next time I'm fasting again. I'll probably do another 5-day fasting challenge with you here. I'll be right in the middle of preparing for a strongman show, so I probably won't do more than 5 days. I'll probably do more like what I did last week with you. So just so you have an idea there that you can integrate this into your lifestyle by doing it quarterly, right? Simland also suggests that you could probably get away with not fasting and turning it into a lifestyle and doing the minimum viable fasting like I talk about if you just do this a few times a year. And I agree with him, you would get great benefit from that. Moving into the second half, or the third quarter or third of this clock, I want to talk about a little bit more of the lifestyle, nutrition, holistic living, stuff that's going to support you in your new rational fasting lifestyle as you start to shift your consciousness and your paradigm from constantly feasting to constantly fasting, making fasting the focus. Bowel health. This is really important while you're fasting, but it's also really important all year long. Bowel health is like the front line defense, because what we tend to forget is that our bowels, the alimentary canal from the mouth, from the rooter to the tutor, from the mouth to the butthole, we tend to think that it's inside. Well, it is inside, but it's subject to outside influence constantly. And in the same way that your skin is clearly on the outside, so what do? You wash your skin every day. You take a shower every day, right? I've been touching stuff, things have been touching me, things spill on me, things get on me, I sweat, there's biological processes. It's a good idea to rinse, clean off the frickin' body. Well, bowel health ain't much different, because your alimentary canal is constantly subject to the things you put in your mouth, even things that you are not consciously putting in your mouth. All right, things that just make their way into your food, into your mouth while you're talking or whatever. This includes not only bacteria and viruses, but also parasites, funguses. I mean, a myriad of different things. Food that is brought into the body oftentimes doesn't totally clean itself out, especially a lot of the processed foods that we eat. And there are certain foods that are known to either be sticky or get stuck in the colon lining. And then in the same way that our body sweats, our digestive system produces a mucus, a mucosal lining. A lot of times that mucus is thicker depending on how your immune system is responding to the food that you're eating. So a lot of people have a lot of mucus, but we all have some level of mucus which thickens and can actually build up along the colon wall, the alimentary canal wall. Arnold Ehret talks about the tongue being when you start fasting and your body starts breaking down this mucosal lining, that's the first place it starts cleansing, is the mucosal lining of the digestive system. That's the first place your body starts. And you wonder why, right? Because it's that important. Your body starts breaking that down so that you can clear out the tubes, so that more food later on, or more nutrients later on, can be assimilated, can be brought in. Absorption is stifled when there's too much mucus, but that mucosal line is never broken down if we're constantly freaking eating. So that mucosal lining can also get sticky, and food substances can get stuck in there. There's a concept called leaky gut syndrome, where the gut wall permeability opens up, right? Because there is inflammation due to certain food and foodstuffs that are stuck in the digestive system, digestive tract, alimentary canal. And when that, you can think about that's your, the walls of your digestive system, as there's inflammation, right? So it's getting puffy. And then look at that, the little spaces in between, that's the permeability of the gut wall, gut lining. And what often happens is foodstuffs can pass from the gut lining into the blood and cause a myriad of reactions in the body, histamine reactions and inflammation, causing joint pain, everything from joint pain to foggy brain. So we want to take good care of our colon health. We want to take good care of it. So some of the ways to hygiene for the colons, particularly while you're fasting, either during a Nomad, a UMAD, or you could do it first thing in the morning after fasting all night, or enemas. Not going to go into the details of how to do an enema, but as you know, it's like cleaning out the alimentary canal from the bottom up. And so you can do some research on enemas. You can find cheap enema packages, products on Amazon. Colonics. Never had a colonic before. I put it in here because I know a lot of people who do and they like it. That's where you go to a professional and they hose you out from the bottom up, right? You can do it yourself with an enema, which is a little bit more gentle, or colonic. Again, I haven't done it. I just know people who have. And then, of course, salt flush. Salt flush, you can Google that also too, but a flush, this goes from this way out. And first time I did a salt flush I discovered it by accident by putting too much salt in my water, making the snake juice. And I had to run to the toilet multiple times. But it was amazing. Because it was like, I mentioned an analogy the other day, is like taking a fire hose and putting it in your mouth and cleaning out through the bottom. And it was weird because during my 10-day fast earlier this year, I did a salt flush, and I was like on day 9, salt flush, and there was still debris, still stuff coming out. And that tells you that there are decades worth of doo-doo stuck in your duodenum. Is that the right word? Stuck in the colon. So we want to get that stuff out because if left there, can wreak havoc on our health. Blood test, I think it's a really good idea. I'm delving deeper into this concept and practice of getting regular labs done. Prior to 2014, we couldn't get our own labs and access to our own labs, believe it or not, here in America. But now that's possible for us, and there are websites like personallabs.com where we can go and we can get a whole blood profile on anything you want. In fact, Personal Labs is also doing parasites. I believe they have fungus tests. You can, back in the day, I discovered that I had H. pylori by doing stool tests. So there are a myriad of different tests that you're going to want to take and track. And if you're, like I wrote here, if you're less than 40 years old, once a year should be good enough. Right? You either go to your doctor or you do it on your own. We're self-empowered and educated men these days. So you might want to do it on your own, or you go to a doctor. It doesn't matter. If you're over 40, 2 times a year plus is a very good idea. Some of what you may want to explore in terms of blood work, I'll recommend 2 books that I think will support you if you want to go down this route. And of course, it's very likely I'll be making more videos about blood tests and sharing my ideas and experience with you about how to optimize. But there is Keto Fast, which is a book by Dr. Mercola I mentioned in a previous video, where he tells you what are the best things to test while you're fasting. It's all about maintaining healthy markers while you're fasting. Pre and post, because before you fast, you're a fat slob and you got high cholesterol and your blood glucose is through the roof. After you start fasting and you adopt the rational fasting lifestyle, all that stuff will change. All these things that you may have had to take medication for, need surgery. Anyway, what's the name of that surgery? Episiotomy, where they clear out your blood vessels with balloons and shit like that. You could avoid all that. High cholesterol, you can avoid all that by living a rational fasting lifestyle and also getting regular blood tests. The other resource that I'll offer you is the Testosterone Optimization Bible. I don't remember the name of the author, but I started reading the book recently. And in the book, there's a whole chapter on what men should test in terms of our hormonal health. And the more I dig into it, the more I discover that even if we have somewhat optimal testosterone levels, according to the charts, according to the labs, it may not be optimal for you. And there's a myriad of different reasons why. And there are other tests to support you in optimizing your testosterone and so on and so forth. So those are 2 good resources, but we'll dig deeper. And then finally, arm yourself with information and inspiration, both for the body and both for the mind. And I write science and religion here because I believe that there are 2 sides of the same coin. You can't have facts without meaning. You don't have the outer world without the inner world. And if you're anything like me, you like to have that philosophy. You like to have that inner the sense of meaning for the things that you're doing. Sometimes I get a little crazy with, I make meaning out of everything, right? Look how quickly I turn fasting into something that is great biologically, but we got to remember all of our great religious teachers told us to do this. Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, all reminded us to fast. I've mentioned a ton of great books as it relates to the science of fasting. Metabolic Autophagy by Simland, The Complete Guide to Fasting by Dr. Fung, Keto Fasting by Dr. Mercola. And then as far as religion is concerned, I offered you guys I did some passage reading. Pastor Elliott, Pastor Yo, I like that. I read some stuff from the Eastern Orthodox inspired book, Way of Ascetics. All right, fasting is an ascetic lifestyle to build a discipline and the stoicism and the steadfastness associated with being a strong man. I'll also offer you another book. Again, this book, like many of the ones that I suggest, comes with a caveat in terms of religion. It is a book called The Essene Gospel of Peace. Apparently, these are the hidden or lost words of Jesus. I don't know if this is true. Also, I discovered that Jesus' name is not really Jesus, it's Yeshua. The lost words of Yeshua. I don't know if this is true or not, but I enjoyed reading the book. The author seems to have an agenda and wants to turn us all into vegetarians, like everybody else in the world. I don't get it yet. Maybe I'm behind the times, but I'm not buying it. I'm not buying the vegan thing or the vegetarian thing. But he offers that. He lays that down. Apparently, according to him, Jesus said this. I don't know. But anyway, it's a really good book. There's three of them, and I like the first one because he talks a lot about fasting in there. And then finally, I would like to offer you an opportunity to get my new ebook, Rational Fasting, the Rational Fasting Challenge, which is really about challenging you to turn fasting into a lifestyle. And in that ebook, which you could learn more about down below, I talk about the history of fasting, fasting as it was practiced by the Greeks and by by so many others, the Christians and the Hindus and so I go into a little bit into the history, but really what I think you're going to find super fascinating is the practical aspect of applying all this kind of fasting to your lifestyle so that you can be the strongest version of yourself. So like I said, all the information you need to know to get started with that is down below. I'll also put a link to the 5-Day Fasting Challenge free ebook so you can get started with that. Either one, it's okay. And if you do decide to invest in the Rational Fasting Lifestyle book this week, it's on sale. And as you go through the process, you'll see that I have some videos. I have a video course available to you if you like that also too, and a few other options that may be of interest to you. Really excited to continue on this journey with you and becoming the strongest version of ourselves through rational fasting, making it a lifestyle, and growing stronger. That's it, y'all. Talk to you next time. Done.